Alright, good morning friends. We have a lovely guitar on the bench this morning. This belongs to a very close friend of mine, a friend from church, a brother in Christ, and he has entrusted to me two of his guitars in for setup and whatever other work they need. So this one is a Fender, USA made, California made, Fender Tele, beautiful thing. Ash body, two-piece by the looks of it. Normally are a two-piece, aren't they? A neck which is just fabulous. It's not a gloss neck, it's like a satin finish neck, so your hand slides across it. It's beautiful. It's got a couple of dings in it which we would expect of a guitar that is played. Now my friend James, who owns this, is a guitar tutor. He's a fantastic player and he does fantastic work, not only for musicians or budding musicians, but also for the Lord. So fantastic. That is really good. So this guitar, what does it need? Well, we already know it doesn't need a refret. We're going to reprofile these frets because they are flat. So we're going to give the frets we're going to do a fret level, reprofile the frets. There's some things that need attention, like there's no three-way tip on there and there's no strap pin there, which I've already sourced replacements for. One of these saddles, the screws in there are fast. They are paggered, so we've got to get them out from the back. I'll replace those. I actually do have some Fender ones in stock, so that's great. I've already sourced a switch tip here, which I'm just going to place on the guitar, if it will let me. Let's put it on the right way, shall we? So that's on there, and I have a strap pin which almost matches the Fender one on there, almost identical. So I'm going to stick that one on the end in a minute, and this one's going to be strings off. We're going to level the frets. In fact, I'm going to remove the neck to do that. I'm going to bolt the neck to a piece of MDF as I normally do. We're going to level the frets, then we're going to reprofile. By reprofiling, because the frets are now flat, we're going to put that arc back across the frets and we're going to polish them all up really nice. Big job, good few hours in that, 4 or 5 hours. It's something I charge £135 for. James has no problem with what I charge. And this is the first of two guitars of James's I'll be working on. There's another special Telecaster later on. That is a luthier built Telecaster, not a shop bought, so that means a lot to him as well. Stunning looking thing. I'll tell you more about that in the next video, but for now I'm going to crack on, do the things I said I'm going to do, and I will bring you in and show you various parts of how we do the jobs that we are going to do. I've moved on a little. I've covered the pickups to protect them. I've lowered them in slightly into the body because I'm leveling the frets. Now I've been over and checked the frets with the fret rocker. There are only 5 high ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we've got that much pitting and deep grooves down this end. We're going to level the whole lot. So we're going to flatten the tops. We're going to then re-crown them, and that's going to give us more or less brand new frets, albeit a little bit lower. So I've set the neck dead straight. I've had to alter the truss rod to get the neck dead straight. Once that's done, I've gone over, checked the frets. I've built up a little bridge of, I've used some maple veneer to build up a bridge which is higher than the nut. So if I come across with a leveling beam, I'm not going to damage the nut. I'm certainly not going to knock it off. But I'm hoping not to go right up the ramp anyway. I'm just going to stop short of going there, and that way I can get all of the frets leveled. So it's nice and gentle. You don't have to go hammer and tongs at any of this. And we're going to just level the frets along the whole length of the neck. And once we're down, we've got all that pitting and all those grooves out. We'll check the frets for level again. So it's going to take a short while. Don't worry about me overlapping there, because when we match the radius, we have to match it right up to the edge. The radius doesn't follow the lines of the strings, it follows the actual radius from the centre. So however wide it is, we need to follow in that direction, like so. This is going to take me a short while. So I'm going to crack on, get them all level. Once they're level, we're going to come back, we're going to go with a fret rocker, we'll check everything, we'll make sure we've got all the pitching removed. Before I do go, by the way, I would normally remove the neck and bolt the neck to a piece of MDF. But the piece of MDF I use is already on another neck, and I've got it already assembled on the jig in the other room, so I don't want to go on disassembling that. So I had to use this more archaic and old method. As long as you take your time and you're careful, you're going to get it absolutely spot on. Anyway, update again later. So I've just penned over the frets again. I've already got them level. I've been over with the, I didn't explain this earlier, the levelling beam from Crimson Guitars. This edge and this edge are precision ground flat, perfectly straight. And I have paper, emery board on each edge. Got 240 grit, which is more, a little bit more coarse on the bottom, and 400 grit on the top. I've already done the 240 grit. I've got the frets level. So I'm just going to smooth them off now with 400 grit. So basically with the pen all on, with just a few strokes, I should remove all of this pen. And this is also going to remove some of the deeper scratches caused by the 240 grit, which will make them easier to polish later. So just following the radius, nice and gentle. We're just looking to remove the pen. And from the centre outward, and back in, that side's already removed. So we're going to follow the same, doing the opposite edge. Back to the centre, and that is the pen removed. So we know the frets are now all level along the whole length. We're just going to check the radius is consistent from that end to this, which it is. So we're now ready to recrown these. So what I need to do for that is clean up the fingerboard for starters. I'm going to give it a little spray with some naphtha and get rid of this now. So we managed to save, keep the knot intact. Don't need this anymore. The knot's going to work because we've actually lowered the frets slightly. I'm going to grab some naphtha. We don't have naphtha in England, but the closest thing we have is Zippo lighter fluid, which is naphtha basically. So I'm going to douse that. I'm not going to set fire to it, don't worry. I'm just going to douse that. And this is going to remove any of the crap that was on the fingerboard. It'll slightly dry it out. It means, because I'm taping this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape up the whole neck, or the fingerboard basically, leaving the frets exposed because it's the frets we're going to be working on. So it's going to take me a short while. So again, I'll crack on, get that done, and I'll bring you back in when I'm ready to crown the frets. Okay guys, we are now going to reprofile or recrown the frets. Now, because we've leveled the frets, we're now flat on top, we need to rebuild that crown. So we need to remove material from both sides of the fret and to start rounding off to rebuild the crown, because we want a small, we don't want strings to contact the top bit of the fret, not the whole width. Now to do this nowadays, we have the job's made really easy for us when we have tools like the Stumac Z file, which is this piece of gear here. And it's got two, it's a diamond file, it's got a long narrow cut there and a short sharp cut on the far side, and you turn it over 180 degrees, it's got the exact opposite. And what is brilliant about this file is it will not touch the top of the fret. Now that's great because we've leveled the frets, we know they're all level, so we don't want to remove any material from the top. And all we have to do with this file is just a few strokes, and we're rebuilding that lovely crown. And then we turn over 180 degrees, and the two cuts are opposite now to what they were before. And this will leave a nice thin line down the middle of the fret, which is the crown, which is the bit that the guitar strings are going to hit or make contact with. Once we've gone across with the Z file, we go across with a regular crowning file. This has got the perfect crown shape built in. And all I do with this one is just slightly angled, and I just remove any inconsistencies or burrs, and then I go over each edge. And there you go, and that is that fret now beautifully crowned. We move on to the next one. Now every time you use one of these files, always wipe the file, ready for the next fret. And same again, I'll show you one more time. Turn the file over. Nice thin black line down the centre. Take the crowning file, again always clean before you do another fret. Same again. And that is two done. Now if you look, this line is a little bit thick, so we could go a little bit thinner, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to reprofile again. Just try and get that line just a little bit thinner by removing more material from the sides of the fret. Now just take quite a while this, so I'm going to do the rest off camera. There's 22 frets on this. So it's going to take me quite a while. But there you go. I'm going to get the rest done off camera. Once it's done, we're going to move on to the next stage, which will be the polishing. Just changing tack slightly. James did mention that I may have trouble removing some of these screws from the saddles. And he's absolutely right. This one, I couldn't even get the screw out of the saddle. I have done by spraying some WD-40 in there, but it was really difficult. But I certainly cannot move the screws in the saddle. So I'm going to go and check the saddle screws with a 1/20th sized Allen wrench here. I've taken one of the saddles away. I'm just going to see if we can turn all of these, because I wager we're not going to turn all of them. Now that one is moving just, so that's good. I'm going to check them all because they are trying to seize. Now with these, you do sweat and it doesn't make them stick and it makes them rusty. So I suggest you give these a clean every once in a while. There's one there, I don't think that one's spinning either. That's just not working either, I don't think. No, the Allen key's just spinning in there. So that's another one I've got to get out, and this one. Now I'm going to check I've got the right sized Allen key. Let me try a 16th. Certainly they aren't 1/16th, they are 1/20th. Yeah, I've got the right one in there. So I've got two more spinners here on this one, and I don't know if we can get that out. We can get this out. What I'm doing with all of these that have seized is, rather than spray WD-40 on them, I'm going to soak them in WD-40. I have a little pot here with one saddle already in there. Maybe can you see it? There's a saddle in there, but I'm going to stand it up. And I'm going to do exactly the same with this. I'm going to stand this one up as well. And I'm going to let the WD-40 do its work, do its magic. And when I come back another day, I should be able to remove those saddle screws in there. So I'm just going to check all the others. Again, that's not moving. So James, you've not done well here. They do get cacked up. That one's working, is it? No, none of them are working. That's why I'm not able to set the radius. So I'm going to remove all of that one's working, that's fine. Hopefully I can remove all of the screws, which I can. Everything can go in the pot. Saddle screws all vary in sizes. Now chances are I'm able to move these from the back with a pair of pliers. Now this screw's also in there really tight. It might be an idea to upgrade these saddles and screws. It may not be necessary, but you'd have to take better care. Just checking the screw sizes. Right, okay. That's two, that's three. I'm going to have to mark these as well. I'm going to write on the back of these so I know which is which. I will have a marker pen somewhere, a thin one. just so I know where everything's going. I can even write on the underneath. That's 2. This is 3. And then I know where to put them back. 1, 2, 3. What was the one I put in there? No, this is 4. 3 is 4. So I mean, maybe they are all the same. We'll put 4 on there, 3 on this one. The one in the pot is 2. The ones in the pot are 2 and 1. So this one's 5. Screws are different sizes as well, I think. Yep. You might as well stick everything in there with a WD and give everything a coating, because everything's trying to rust. Right, so number 5 in this one. Might as well remove number 1 as well. So that again is tight in there. Wow, yeah it is. So these things, guys, bridges and your saddles, they will rust over time. Now this is a 23-year-old guitar, it's a 1999. So you've got 2 longer springs in 1 and 2, 3 shorter springs or medium-sized springs in 3, 4 and 5, and a short spring in 6. Mark this one number 1 if it wants to be marked. And there you go. So I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to have a little look at these, see if we can move anything with pliers from behind. Sometimes you can. Someone's had pliers on these before. I may have had pliers on this one just now actually. Try something a little bit bigger. Certainly though, these are all just about damaged now. Yeah, well, I'm going to go and get a set of these screws. I'm going to put a brand new set in them. Banking on and getting them all out. They are really difficult to get out. So I do have some in stock, but not enough of a whole set. Can I save them? It's usable. I don't know about savable. So I'm going to go and order a new set of these when I find out the exact size. Like I said, I've got some in stock. That one's not moving. So that's got to go in the WD-40. Yep, they've had it. So I'm going to go find out the size and I'm going to go and buy some new ones. James just played a blinder here. I've had these saddles soaking in WD-40 overnight and I've got screws out of 3 of them, but others I'm not moving anything. I'm having to use 2 sets of mole grips to try and get things moving. And this one has been an absolute bind, but I have got one of the screws moving, so I'm able to get both out. But there's 2 in the pot, sorry, 1 in the pot. I cannot get moving at all, and it may look like we've got to replace the saddles. Now these are those satin finish saddles. I think they're at retail. They're not cheap. I think they're about 40 quid. I'm going to go and find out. I've got this one moving now, but it has taken some moving to get it in. Fortunately, we can put new screws in there. But wait till I show you the state of these screws. The amount of rust, I don't know, this is the worst I've ever seen. The amount of rust on those. and they really took some getting out, as these are. Like I said, I've got 2 pairs of mole grips, and I've had to basically flatten the ends to get them moving. You see that just keeps wanting to pop off. I mean, these mole grips aren't brilliant, but they should be well easy enough, well good enough for this type of job. But I'm having to hold an extra pair of grips to get things moving, and this one I don't know if I've got moving yet. We might be actually having to snap this screw. It's not. I'm just not getting a grip on there. So I can't move that one. I'll have to keep that one soaking in WD, because otherwise I'm going to snap this end, and then we're never going to get it out. No, that one's just not moving, so I'm going to stick that back in the WD-40 along with one that's already in there, and hope and pray that we can move them another day. But I'm not holding that much out for these at the moment, and it looks like we're going to have to go and buy some new saddles. Like I say, not cheap. 2 in there I cannot get budging. So we'll leave that in the WD-40. It's got this last one to try. I don't believe I've tried this one yet, so this might work straight off the bat. Some of them have worked straight off the bat. Let's work straight off the bat, these two. I can almost do these by hand. In fact, I can do this by hand. I think that was the one good one, wasn't it? But those screws, we're still going to replace those screws, they're not brilliant. So we've got 4 saddles done. I numbered some of them, didn't number the others, but it's not going to be important. So we've got 4 done. These 2, not going to have much out for these, to be honest with you, unless I can get a really good grip on the screws. But anyway, that's where we are. May have to go and find a set of these and replace them. Maybe I can find some used, I don't know. I'm going to have a look on Facebook shortly and see what we can do, but I'm not holding out much hope. In fact, I'm not holding out any hope really for these 2. I'll be surprised if I can get those out, but we'll wait and see, won't we? So for friends, I've had a couple of days off. I've been under the weather, but I've had other things to do anyway, so it's not about, I'm not too ill to work, it's just I've had other things to do at home. But getting back to this guitar, so I went and bought some more of these screws there with the Allen wrench adjuster on there, the proper Fender ones for the Fender bridge, but I'd only managed to clear 4 saddles. Get the screws out. These 2, they've been sat in WD-40 for 4 days, and I still cannot move those. So I had to go and buy another set of saddles, and I found some saddles. I bought these for nothing now. It cost me £8 and I don't need to use them. I got some saddles from Gear for Music up in Yorkshire there, and they are the proper Fender ones, Fender genuine parts, and they were only about 27.5 quid delivered. There you go, over there, look. Right ones with the offset. So I just bought the whole kit. So we're having a new kit on. And I've not opened them or anything. I'm just going to get them open now. So I've got all the new gubbins going on. And it's exactly the same saddles, with the same screws, with the offset ones as well. So they're absolutely right for this guitar. Like I say, they were £24.99 plus a bit of postage, a couple of quid postage, 2.5 quid postage or something. So there you go. And let me just check them, and there's all the bag of bits in here. It's been stapled through. It's your bag of bits. Blah 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 blah. And there's your saddles. And look at that. And I don't think they're positional. That'll be an outside one. Let's compare these with some of the old ones. And they're exactly the same. The new one is this one. The old one is that one. There you go, it's exactly the same. That's the new one, that's the old one. Exactly the same piece of kit. So we've got a brand new set of saddles here and screws and what have you. Imagine that's an outside one. That'll be a secondary one. And you've got some with bigger screws on. And that'll go there and there, I imagine. So I'll get these all sorted out. They all go different ones, different sides because of different length screws. I think we're just about there with those. That's kind of the order we want to be going in. Something like that. That looks pretty good to me. So there you go. And the RV offset one's exactly the same. I'll show you there. There you go, with the offset hole on there. So that's all good. And we'll have a couple spare. And I'm going to give James a couple, and I'm going to keep a couple for myself, just in case I need a couple in the future. So how's that? So job is a good one. So I'm going to put these aside, put everything back in the bag. We're going to move on back to the neck, and I'm going to polish the frets as I said I would in the last part of the video. It's warm in here today, so I've got the windows open and I've got a fan blowing right at me, round about waist height from that direction up there. So I'm going to sit down because I'm going to get the benefit of the fan. So polishing the frets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different grits of sandpaper lined up here. 600 grit, 800, 1000, 1200, 1500, 2000. They are my polishing grits, but before I go with a thicker piece of 400 grit. That's the heaviest grit I use, and this being a much thicker paper, I'm going to use this to remove the scratches that we put in that way by sanding. So this is fantastic. So all we're going to do is go over the tops, and this is going to remove the black pen. It's going to also remove the scratches from the tops of the frets, which makes polishing much easier, because we're not going to polish scratches out as much as we are. Well, we are polishing scratches out, but we're going to bring them up to a beautiful shine. So this 400 grit really does cut the mustard. It's fantastic. So it's just a matter of going over the top with this 400 grit first, get rid of the scratches, then we're going to move on to the polishing grits. So this is going to take me quite a while. It's a 22 fret neck, so we've got 22 times, you've got 7 grits of sandpaper, including this 400, and then you've got steel wool, so you've got 8 lots of 22. We're going to make that 176. So in effect I've got to polish 176 frets, and it's going to take me a while. Then my arm's going to ache, and I'm going to have little breaks in between. I'm going to stick some music on or something. And but I'm going to crack on, and I will come back when I'm ready to go on with the sandpaper. Not sandpaper, with the steel wool. Because the steel wool, these will still be dull even if I've polished them right up with these, but the scratches will be gone. But the steel wool will bring them up to that beautiful mirror-like shine. So I'm going to crack on. It's going to take me a while to do these, but I will bring you back before I knock off tonight. So I'm just about at the end of the polishing. I've gone through with the 7 grits of sandpaper. Just need to go through with the steel wool now. Now the steel wool is the finest grade you can get, super fine steel wool. And I'll start at this end because I'll show you how to do it. And all I do is I cut a piece from the end, and I'll just place it over the fret, and I pinch it over the top, press down, pinching over the top, and we just polish up the fret like so. And that fret is absolutely gleaming now. It is beautiful. Scratch free, all the scratches are gone. We know we're still level. But look at these are coming out so nice. It really makes all the difference. People are saying you shouldn't use steel wool. I don't get it. Messing about with a Dremel and paste and all this kind of stuff, you don't need it. Just get some super fine steel wool when you finish polishing with your paper grits. And these are absolutely fabulous. So I'm going to crack on, get these done. Once these are done, I'm going to peel off the tape, clean up the neck, put the neck back on the guitar, and then we can look at getting the saddles back on and doing the final setup. Beautiful. Those frets are just fabulous. We do have a problem, and this does happen, and it's happened before. And even though this is low tack tape, we tape up the neck, the fingerboard, sorry, leave the frets exposed. Peeling off the tape, it's brought the lacquer with it. I don't know if you can see where you are, but it's taken the lacquer with it. So what we're going to have to do is, I may remove all the lacquer from the back of the guitar, because I can't get this tape off without the lacquer coming with it. Look, it's just like this. And it's all coming off. It is a satin finish, so I may remove all the lacquer off the back of the neck. I'm going to talk to James about it in a minute. I've let him know. There's no lacquer on the fingerboard, so that's not going to be a problem. I do actually remove lacquer from necks. I remove them from all of my own, and quite a few other players have the lacquer removed, so it's not going to be a problem unless he wants it respraying. But of course, that's not included in the price. So we're going to see. I'm going to see what James says. I'm going to remove this tape and see what's what. But this does happen. You know, it's no great shakes. No one's to blame. You can't foresee this happening. It just happens. It's an old guitar, and I'm going to remove this side, and that is still bought lacquer with it as well. So we just remove it like so, and there's bought it all with it as well. So this is one of those things that just happens, especially on older guitars. It's a 23-year-old guitar. I don't know how it's been stored, but the lacquer has come away from these, from all around here and all around here. I mean, you can just leave it. It may actually be fine. So what I'm going to do is I will seal it with some oil, and we'll see how it goes. And if James might just say, well, you know, it's just mojo. We'll leave it like that. It's absolutely fine. So anyway, I'll let you know what it says, and I'm still going to put it back on the guitar anyway. So I'll let you know what James says, and we'll crack on with it. Just want to show you the neck, and James has just been brilliant about it. I mean, James is a brother in Christ. We're real good friends, and yeah, he just got back to me. He just says absolutely no problem. He says I want it to relic naturally. Anyway, he says that's just relicking. It's brilliant. But there you go. There's a fingerboard and the frets all polished up, all levelled and polished up beautifully. James is going to be so happy with this neck when he gets it back, and he's going to love this. I've just soaked some oil in there, just one coat, and just rubbed it in. Just some regular thingy oil, mineral oil that I put on the fingerboard anyway. Just let it soak in, just to give it a little bit of a barrier. I need to put a little bit there, but yeah, look at that neck. It looks stunning. It's beautiful. So I'm going to get the guitar back together now. We can start getting the bits on, and we're going to give it a set up, and then I'm going to knock off for the day. So James has included a set of strings, a set of 1046s, so that is obviously his preferred gauge. I actually do vaguely remember him saying so. So I'm going to put these on. Beautiful guitar, beautiful looking thing. And the frets absolutely pop in there. They look fantastic. So I'm going to put the strings on. A few more things I've got to do as well. I've got to set the saddles, get it strung up, get the intonation all done. So it's still, all I have to do now is the setting up, but it's still quite a lot of work. So I'm just going to get the strings threaded through, and get it tuned almost to pitch, roundabout pitch anyway. And once that's done, I'll bring you back in and I'll show you how we go about setting the guitar up. Now then, let me just get this in. Now these, I like to get a couple of wines round post me. I know some people don't, they like the lockable tuners. I actually don't like lockable tuners. They're a ball ache for me, and these just wraps round post work. They always have done. So I tend not to go with locking tuners myself. These are not locking tuners. These are standard, and they're the ones I prefer. Well, the actual ones I do prefer are the Fender ones, where you stick the end of the string down the hole. But anyway, I'm just waffling at the moment. I'm going to crack on, get these strings on, and I'll bring you back in once I'm ready to show you how I set up a Telecaster. I've moved on just a little since you last saw me. Now I've more or less set the radius. I've set the radius slightly high for the moment, and I'm just doing the intonation before I do anything else, because I can't set a proper radius. Sorry, I can't set the proper intonation. Hang on, let's go back. I cannot set the radius properly until I've done the intonation, because if I do a radius first and match the radius of the neck, if I'm not doing the intonation, I'm still going to be moving saddles backwards and forwards, which means the radius is going to change. So I'm setting the intonation first, and I've already done these 4 strings, the 4 lower strings, and I'm moving on to the B and the E. Now this is going to be tuned to D standard, 2 semitones down or a tone down, because it's how James wants it. That's why he's gone with a slightly thicker string, 1046 set. So I'm just going to roughly set the intonation. Now because he's tuning into D standard, we need this to be an A. And that's as good an A as you're going to get. I've got a strobe tuner in front of me, a rack tuner. So 12th fretting. We are spot on. So I'm going to move on to the E, which is a note D. I'm going to stretch the string just a little bit more. I've already stretched the strings in, I'm going to stretch just a little bit more. And again, that is more or less spot on. It might be... It's good. So I think we've got all the strings done. Drop this to a D again. Don't worry about the buzzing, it's because it's laid down. So the D is... Let's have a look. Yep, A, which is a G. A little bit sharp, so we're just going to lengthen that string. We're just going to take the saddle more towards the body, just a turn. That's good. The D tuned to C. A tiny bit sharp again. Now if it's sharp on the 12th fret, on the fretted note, I remember it this way, if it's sharp, we move a saddle, as you look at it this way, to the right. Sharp and right 5 letters. If it's flat, we move it left, flat and left, or 4 letters. So we always know. So I'm just going to go a little bit sharp on this one. A little bit to the right, should I say. So because we tune this to D, this is a C note on the D string. And that's good. G string, which is an F. That's good. The B string, which is an A. Tiny bit sharp, so I'm going to move it slightly to the right, the saddle, just half a turn. We'll set all this again in the playing position later on once I've set everything else. And the E playing a D note. So the intonation is now set. Now we can go and look at the radius. So the radius, what I mean is the arc of the strings at the bridge end. Now the radius is the arc on the neck or on the fingerboard. So we're going to take, it should be 9.5, so we're going to take a 9.5 inch radius gauge. We'll place it under the strings and measure the neck. And that matches the radius, so that is a 9.5. So we've done this, so we're going to do the same at this end, at the bridge, at the saddles. And we're going to check the saddles are the same shape, the same radius as the neck. I mean, not. Some of these are a little bit high. So I'm going to just raise or lower onto the top of the radius gauge so we match that radius. Be careful not to drop them too low. I've already set the 2 outside strings, sorry I meant to mention that. I've already set the 2 outside strings, they're exactly where they need to be. So we're just going to drop each string now onto the top of the radius gauge. And we need these saddles being perfectly level. So we don't angle them like you'd think, like some people do. We actually drop them, but we set them straight horizontally. We should be very, very slightly high at the 12th fret, because there's a reason for that, because I'm going to cut the nut slots as well. So that is a radius set. So I remove the radius gauge. Now this radius on the saddles matches the radius on the neck, a 9.5 inch radius. So I'm just going to look at the saddles and I'm going to set them straight. So where one's high on one side, I'm going to turn it back just a nats and turn it forward on the opposite screw, and that brings it level. The same again with this one, just to bring them straight, and this one is it's nowhere near straight, so I'm going to move back about quarter turn and turn it a quarter turn this way on this side. And that means your saddles are all straight, not going in an arc. We set them all straight but make the arc that way, so we come up and down. And I'm just checking where these are, and these look pretty good. Set that heel ever so slightly. Drop a nudge just there. And that's where I want everything to be. I'm now going to be out of tune, so I'm going to retune. Don't worry about any buzz or anything, we'll get rid of that later. Do buzz when you lay them down. So we're roughly in tune where we are. The strings are now stretched in. We've set the intonation correctly. We've set the radius. So we're now going to measure the height of the strings above the 12th fret. And on this side, we're actually around about 2mm for now. We're about 1.9mm, which is fine. And on this side, we're just about 1.6. Again, it's fine because when I've cut the nut slots, I want this to be about 1.75. That's the gap from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string. 1.75mm at the 12th on the bass side and 1.5mm on the treble side. Now once I cut these nut slots, which I'm only going to alter some ever so slightly, it'll drop down just here, it'll give us the action we need at the 12th fret. Another thing I need to measure is the amount of relief in the neck. Now my not straight edge is not there at the moment, so I'll see where I've put it. It could be in here somewhere. Let's see if I can just pull it out. That's not it. That's not it. What's that one? Aha, I think we've got it here. Gibson Fender. There you go, 25.5-inch scale. I like to set the radius at round about, not radius, sorry, the relief at about 0.25mm between the 5th and 7th frets. So I'm going to measure that, and I'm thinking we're looking a little bit flat there, a little bit too much relief there. So I'll probably have to straighten the neck. That's not the right tool. Now with this being an American Fender, we want a 1/8 inch truss rod Allen wrench. Just see where we are here. It's just scraping there, so we might just get a nice, just a little tweak. I don't have a 1/8 here, but it is a short 1/8, so I may not be able to reach the truss rod with this. Let's have a look. We're going to move this string out of the way, just see if we can get a little bit of purchase on there. Yes, we can, look. And I'm just going to give it a little tweak, about that much. That's about 1/16 of a turn, and that should be enough. Not straight edge again. I'm just going to give it a measure. At the 6th fret, we're just scraping underneath at 0.25mm. That is fine. So again, we're going to measure the height of the strings above the 12th fret. We are just under about 1.65 there, and we are about 1.45 on that side. Slight bit of buzz, so we're going to slightly raise them on the outside, just a little bit. I'm probably not going to cut the nut slots because I think we've got a nice low action there. I could put in a little bit more relief. Let's just bring this up a tad because we are a little bit low. If I do that then, I'm going to do the same on the treble side. Just move everything up a quarter of a turn. Or about a 1/12 of a turn, should I say. So let's just go there. I'm going to do every saddle the same. I'm just going to bring the action up by the same amount. It means we're going to maintain that radius. So just under. That's only about a 1/12 of a turn there. Less than a quarter, more than a half. And I'm going to say that's where I need it to be set up. So I'm going to measure again. We're at 2 mil that side now, and we're at about 1.6 that side, which is great, because now the last thing I need to do is to cut the nut slots, just to bring those strings a little bit lower above the first fret. And again, I can take a measurement, and on the bass side I like to be the gap from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string. I go about 0.3 millimeters max, and about 0.2 millimeters on the treble side, and we'll gradiate down gradually. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to have a look at this side. That's a 0.25 wrench, so I'm going to have a look at the 0.3. I'm kind of rushing through this, not because I'm in a rush, but because, well, I do want to get it done. It's just, I do this so many times, so we need to come down with that one, come down with the A, and come down with the D. So I'm going to change the camera angle, because let's assume, right, we've now set the action at the 12th fret. We've got the radius set at the bridge, and we've got the action set at 12th fret, radius and intonation set at the bridge. We've got the right amount of relief in the neck. We're just slightly higher than we need to be above the first fret. So I'm going to bring these strings down a little lower. I'm going to be cutting the nut with some nut files. This is my set from Hosco. It's an 11 size set, and I'm going to grab my 1046 set out of here. And there's the 16, which will be the 17. We've got the 36, 46, the 26, well I've got a 28 for a 26. So we've got the 16s, and we're going to pull these out. I know these are a 13 and a 10. So we've got the right gauges here. That is the 13. 13 and the 10 I've got in these holders, Stumac holders. We stop the file wobbling because they are much thinner than the others. So 13 and 16 are in holders. So I've got the right set of nut files there. I'm just going to reset the camera, and I'll bring you back in and I'll show you how I set the nut slot depth. Okay, so from my feeler gauge, go right under my nose somewhere. It's right here. So I'm going to check the low E first. And I'm looking about 0.3. That's top of the fret to bottom of the string. So 0.3 feeler gauge. I can already see we've got quite a gap there, so I'm going to remove the string. I'm still plugged into the tuner. I'm going to take the 46 file. Let me just show you there. 0.046, and this will cut a proper half circle shape. These Hosco files. That's why we pay the price we do for them. And all I'm going to do is just cut the slot, just a few strokes. Don't go mental. You go too deep, you'll be replacing the nut. And we'll just take a measure again. I don't really think I lowered it significantly there. I need a cloth or a rag. I've got one there. Always clean the file between uses. So again, we're just going to cut into and horizontal to the neck. Don't need to angle it down on a thin nut like this. A little chip has just come out of the nut there, but it's not going to affect the way the guitar plays. It's still going to be a nice slot. So we're going to call that Mojo. The string, it's still sat snugly in there, and we have cut the slot deeper. That is perfect. To show that little bit just flying out there. So we'll move on to the next string again. Just need to move it a little. So we'll move that string out of the way. Drop that one there. We're going to swap files. Put the 46 away. Out of the way. Take the 36, and again, same job. Make sure you don't slip with the file and cut into the frets, because you're replacing the frets as well. I've got it held in such a way that it's inside my thumb and it's not going to slip out. So again, we'll take this string, put it over there, place this one back. We're about to be about 0.28 on this one. and it's making a buzz. That's enough for me. The D string, we're going to look at 0.25, so we're going to change feeler gauge. Let's have a quick look. We could possibly leave this one. No, it's just a little tiny bit high. So again, I'm going to change file for the 26. The closest we have is a 28, so it's slightly over, and that will be absolutely fine. That's the 26. And just bring the string over. Let it sit in the slot next to it. And just a few strokes. A little more. I'm going to build that chip in the nut up with some it's buzzing now. The next three are all high, so I'm going to do exactly the same with those 3 strings. Once that's done, I'm going to build this up. I'm going to tape up the edges of the fretboard each side. I'm going to build that up with some bicarb or some bone dust and super glue, and I'm going to recut that slot, and you're not going to tell any difference. It saves me having to replace the nut, but it will make it give the nut its shape back. It's just a little bit on that corner there next to the string. I don't like how unprofessional that looks. So a couple of things I'm going to do off camera. Once that's done, I'm going to bring you back in and the guitar will be ready to leave the workshop. I wasn't going to film this, but I've changed my mind. This may make the final cut video, it may not. When I was cutting the slot on this nut here, a little bit chipped off the side of the lower E string, just from the top. It's not altering the groove in any way, shape or form, but it is still a chip. So I'm going to repair it, and I have here a bag of stuff here. Now, it's not anything untoward or odd or illegal. It is bone dust. This is from older guitar nuts that I've altered. Now, I used to save the dust just in case I ever needed a job like this to repatch an old nut. And hopefully I'm going to build this up. I'm just going to drop some on there. Now you see I've masked off an area, this area here, and it's all masked off just so I don't super glue anything. Now, I'm not too worried about filling the slot because I can recut it. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to place some of that dust there, and I'm going to drop some super glue in it, and I've got some really runny super glue with a nice attachment on there just to drop on this dust. And I'm going to recut the nut slot later, but I'm just going to drop some glue on it, and I'm going to wait till it sets. It will set rock hard. And what I'm going to do with that is just get some of that paste. I'm going to scrape off the excess, and I'm going to put some more on there, and I'm just going to smear it over like so. And that has more or less filled that slot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more, and I'm going to build it up like this. And it will mean I've got to cut that slot again, but this gives me something to carve into. You see there? And I've just shaped over that. I'm going to do the same again and drop some more glue in there. I could use bicarb if I wanted to, that would have done the same thing. So the glue is dropping, it's probably dropping into places I don't need it to go into. But we ain't going to worry about that. What we're going to do is we're just going to fill this in again with that paste. I'm going to scrape up any excess, and we're just going to smear over. And that has built up that area somewhat. And it's certainly given us something more to cut into. And I'm just going to keep filling and building up little by little, just till I'm proud of where I need to be. Then I can recarve the nut this end. I'm going to keep the camera rolling. I don't think this will make a final cut, but if it comes out proper, if I do a good job, I can leave it in. It looks like I'm making a pig's ear of it at the moment. I assure you I'm not. But what I need to do is just make sure that that is following the shape of the nut, and it is doing. And the same again. You've got to be patient with jobs like this. I just want one drop of glue. I've built up a small area there. I just want to get some more just on this, right on this corner here. With it being right on the edge, it is quite difficult. And that looks to be pretty much bang on. I need to be able to get this tape off as well, so I'm going to leave that as is. Well, I'm not, I'm going to put some more dust on there. Just sprinkle a little bit more over. Because I want it to be proud of where it was. And that looks to be pretty good. And what I'm about to do is I'm about to carve and cut into this once it's set, and all being well I will be able to get the tape off. We'll make it work, but that looks like I've got enough on there, and I've certainly got enough to fill that slot. And that is going to make a much better job. So I'm going to let that dry for a little while. I'm going to move on to something else, and I'll come back and I'll let you know how we get on. It may be a bit messy under here now because the glue would have seeped under, but I should be able to remove. Yeah, look at that. It's perfect. We've not got anything seeped under there at all, so we've mashed that off really well. And we're going to save this nut rather than have to replace it, so that's real good news. I'm going to leave that a few minutes, and I'll come back and show you how we get on. And there we are, just a few minutes later, you can clearly see that I've recut that slot, I've rebuilt up this area on this side of a nut, and it's all filled in and it looks fabulous. So all I need to do now is get the strings back on and just check the depth of these three slots again, because we may have got a little bit of dust in there. So we'll recheck these slots, but I think we're going to be perfect with that. So see you soon. We are all done with this one. It's a 1999 Fender Telecaster made in the USA. So at the Corona plant in California. Great guitar, beautiful looking guitar, lovely, lovely weight. It'll be a two-piece ash body, maple neck. So we came in, we've given it a fret reprofile. So we've leveled and reprofiled the frets, polished them up. We have replaced the saddles because the old ones were broken. We've checked all the electrics, we've given it a complete setup, we've recut the bone nut. We've checked and tested and tightened every screw, nut and bolt. I also added a strap pin at this end and a toggle switch tip on that end. I've checked the height of the pickups. I've altered them very, very slightly. We've set a nice medium to low action on there. We tuned into D standard and the guitar is ready to go. And what a great project this has been. And don't forget, we did the lacquer did peel off when I removed the tape. Doesn't bother James in the slightest. He says, look, that's just what happens. He says, I don't mind the guitar being mojoed up. It's mojo, it's what it is, it's real and it's true. So there you go, a real and true guitar belonging to a very good friend of mine, and it's all done. So I'm going to lay it down, put it back in its case in a minute. Oh, we also tried to replace the saddles. I'm giving him 2 saddles, screws and springs back, and I'll include one of the little Allen wrenches for the nuts on the bridge if he doesn't have any in his bag. We stuck on some 1046 Ernie balls, and that is it. It's good to go. So one thing left for me to do before I sign off, and that's to remind you of my website. Fretfriend can be found best on Facebook. So you want to be going to facebook.com/NG17. That's facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. I'm Victor. I am your Fret Friend. And until the next time, as always, God bless you. Be good to each other. And I'll see you in the next one.